STEMology, the Young Scientist Survival Guide, Session 16. Hey guys, it's the STEMology podcast with Alina Adams. For all of you returners, I'm glad you're here to hear more from your STEM Survival Guide, and if you're just joining us, you're in for a good time. We've been hitting a variety of topics these last few weeks for students all across the board in many different stages of their professional development. From freshmen in college, to high school students, to seniors in college, whoever you are, maybe a few in graduate programs. I hope we've been keeping you on your toes and hitting different topics that have been even the slightest bit insightful and helpful for you all. Now, this episode is slightly different. I want to talk about relationships, specifically romantic ones. So relationships aren't exactly the number one topic for science-based podcast, but since it's a topic that affects students from all walks of life pretty heavily, I thought an in-depth conversation describing a healthy relationship and how to balance all of those aspects of your life for success would be appreciated. So we hit school pretty hard, we hit working and all these other things that you do. So now I guess it's time to talk those relationships with people and how to kind of have that overall well-rounded lifestyle to really help you be your best self. I expect I'll learn a thing or two as well. I brought in some outside help from two couples I have a lot of respect for, and hopefully we can all learn something from them about how to stay on track to complete your program degree, become who you want to be successful, at the same time find your other half, to be slightly dramatic. So why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Lauren, and I am in medical school. I am going to enter my second year, and I'm dating Ezra, and something interesting about our relationship is that we got engaged 2 weeks ago.
Yay!
Yeah, hi, I'm Ezra. I'm actually a full-time paralegal right now, and I think something interesting about us is we actually met on a dating app.
Dating app? Which one?
A Hinge.
Hinge, awesome.
Great
Yeah.
one.
Hinge love story.
Yeah.
A Hinge love story.
They do exist.
Did you delete the app? Isn't that their whole slogan thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. We did delete the app.
Hi, my name is Kayla, and I'm dating Felix. We both go to UMKC, and we're in the medical school there. And we've been together for about 2 years.
Hi, I'm Felix. Like she said, we've been together for about 2 years, both in the same program at UMKC. An interesting fact about us is that we met at the UMKC Honors College about 5 years ago.
All right, well, it's great to have you all. I'm glad you were able to take some time out of your busy schedules to be here. I already know we're going to have some excellent advice, so for all you guys listening, thinking about relationships, if you're in a relationship, if you're, confused about one, hopefully maybe this can this can clear some things up for you. So, how often do you guys see each other? Is it difficult to line up your schedules?
Yeah, we see each other about 3 to 4 times a week. I don't think it's really all that difficult. You just kind of have to have weekly schedule and you kind of just keep to it. There's no guessing games. We know when we're going to see each other that week, and it kind of helps because you're not, having to text back and forth and figure it out on the fly when you should be studying or
Yeah,
doing
absolutely.
work.
Then you're able to focus more and just get what you need done because you don't have to worry.
Well, we live together, so we see each other every single day. And since our school is online, we never really go anywhere apart. It hasn't been too hard, really, to worry about seeing each other. It's more about when can we see our family or our friends.
I see.
When don't we see each other?
I guess, there's pros and cons there too.
Yeah.
So what is the most difficult part of balancing a full schedule?
I think for me, it's difficult sometimes to realize that you're not going to be able to do everything, that you're going to have to pick and choose when you're studying and when you're seeing people and who those people are. So just being able to see all my friends and family that I want to see and see Ezra a lot, it gets very difficult. And so I think that giving yourself an understanding that at this point in your life, you might be really, really busy and you might not be able to see everyone that you want to see as much as you want to see them.
Yeah, a lot of sacrifice and prioritizing, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I guess the nice thing about her schedule is it's a little bit more set in stone because it seems like that's how med school is. You know things are going to come up, but with my work schedule, I just never know. I might get off at 5, I might not get off till 7,
I
and
see.
it's just kind of she's always been really good at understanding it's kind of out of my control. And
Yeah, so that's a pretty good relationship standard, is just being understanding and knowing that not everything's going to fit perfectly you just have to be flexible.
Yeah, I think going off of busy schedule, for me, it's also hard to like balance friends and school and sick family members, but it's really important to make sure that you take time for yourself. Like if you don't do that, then you kind of get stretched too thin.
Absolutely.
And so taking time, just like an hour even, just to relax by yourself is important.
Me time, yes.
Yeah, one thing that they really kind of talked to us about in our first semester of med school was let your no's protect your yeses. So meaning don't be afraid to say no to hanging out for like 30 minutes and save that time for studying so you can hang out for like an evening. By saying no more often, you'll be able to get more done and then be successful and then have time later to spend more time.
That's a great idea. What makes a good relationship? What makes one successful? What do you think? Some advice there.
I think something that's really important is to create space and a habit of always talking about your relationship and just reflecting on it. And that's something that we do when we schedule, like when we're going to see each other. But just being able to talk about your relationship and how you feel in it, I think is really important. I also think you just have to be supportive of the other person. And even if their goals at the time make it so that you see them less, I think you still need to be their motivator and just be supportive of what they want to do. And then I also think it's really important to allow the other partner to grow and be their own individual person.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. So my 3 things, we actually did these separately, and they ended up being very similar. I did communication and support, and then planning, and then quality over quantity, and I can go through those. But something big, because I'm not in school and she is that I would always try to keep track of when her testing schedule is. And so I had a calendar reminder, and I would set it up to 30 minutes before a test. I'd have an alarm go off. Or my phone would vibrate, and I would just like text her something like, "Hey, praying for you, like good luck," because I was in school. I remember how stressful tests were and things like that.
It's the little things.
Sometimes it can be kind of hard because we're around each other all the time. We don't get really time alone to like not be stressed about school or whatever else. So we have to kind of figure out how to manage like school and a relationship and like keep them kind of separate but still be supportive of each other.
Yeah, kind of like a church and state thing where relationship and students first. Yeah, I can see that.
As far as having a successful relationship, to me, listening and being supportive is really important.
Yeah, the 3 things that I would kind of say are pretty important in a relationship are like, first, you have to be considerate of, kind of like they mentioned, you have to be considerate of what their stressors are and kind of how they align their priorities.
I think that we kind of do a good job because she's in med school and I just work a full-time job, but I've never felt like she demeans that at all or tries to play up like med school's harder, even sure it is in a lot of ways. I've never once gotten that hint from her.
Just respecting each other and what you're doing. How is that different, dating at these different levels of education? Do you think there are major differences?
As far as high school goes, I honestly think it's kind of a joke. Well, I don't know. Some people find their high school sweetheart and,
that one person, they're just done.
Yeah, they're like goals. They're like, don't have to worry about anything. But for most people, I don't think they really work out. And I guess the point of me saying this is that don't take it too seriously because once you go to college or start working, there's going to be way more opportunity to learn about yourself and kind of get a feel for what kind of person you want to spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah, I think at that point in high school, you're still learning so much about who you are that it's probably very difficult to also figure out who someone else is and if you want to stay with them forever. It's kind of scary to me.
Yes.
Oh no, it's funny you say that because I thought I did the same thing. Like I thought I found my high school sweetheart and then we went to separate colleges and then over the course of a couple of years, it just I took school very seriously and made it my priority, and she just didn't. And
there's something better
out there. You have a lot of life to live.
Exactly.
Don't stop here. There's a lot more people you're going to meet. There's a lot more experiences you're going to have.
Yes.
Life continues.
Yes.
Statistically, you're not going to find your wife in high school.
I think every level that you're at is always going to be different because as you, like in medicine, as you continue with your education, you're just going to have more responsibilities and probably a lot less time. And so you really have to make sure what you're spending your time on is valuable to you. In undergrad, I thought I was really busy and I thought I had a lot going on, but now looking back, I think I had a lot more free time than I really did.
I think there's different levels of maturity too. As you're growing up and learning new things, there are different stages that you go through, and the more experiences you have, it changes who you are as a person.
I think for me, undergrad was more of a time to see what kind of person you like. When you go to college, there's just so many new things that you've never experienced before. So it's trial and error, what type of person you mesh well with. It takes like a certain level of maturity to be able to plan your schedules around and like kind of do adult stuff all the time.
Establish a friendship with open goals, and then that friendship can develop into like a closer relationship. And that's kind of what Kayla and I did, and it's worked really well for us. So we met like our freshman year, like I said, and we were friends and acquaintances for like the first couple years, and then our junior year we really kind of hit it off, and that's kind of like how our relationship came to be. And
just in general, I think it's a great idea to just have an open mind when you meet people, because you never really know. I've learned that a lot just like making this podcast, because I never know like who's going to be a potential, star in my next podcast episode, So whenever you meet people, I think it's great in general just to have an open mind about who they are. Before these two couples started dating, I'm sure you had discussions like, I'm going into medical school, that's my priority, I'm doing this is my priority. So what kind of things did you have to talk about to get on that same page?
We talked about what we were looking for and what our expectations were. I think a lot of people kind of play games with their dates, and I mean, especially for medical students, you just don't have time to play games, and so we kind of cut to the chase. And I think even on our first date, we talked about like potentially adopting children and things like that. So I mean, like you did different things for different people. It may seem like a little much, and like you're coming on a little strong talking about the future and a serious relationship on the first date, but it seemed to work for us.
I mean, that's like the whole point, is to take it somewhere, right? So if someone's kind of afraid to talk about the future, then that might be like a red flag.
Yeah. Some people just want to have something that's not very serious. I guess that is your thing, but you should definitely be open and honest about it.
Don't waste my time.
Yeah, especially for like med school students or just any people in general. Like everyone's time is valuable, but you just don't have time to be
kissing frogs.
Yeah, kissing frogs. One whole time clock over, and then also the emotional drain that goes with that.
I guess to go off of that, I think it's really important to talk about your values as well. Like you said, religion, or like, do you want children, or do you plan on traveling for your career?
How you guys feel about just the texting culture, I guess, of less face-to-face, more over-the-phone interactions. What do you think about that?
I actually talked to Ezra on the phone before I ever met him, and I thought that at first I'm not a big phone talker, so I was a little worried, but I was really glad that we talked on the phone because I got to know him. If you ever are on a dating app, I think calling someone and seeing if your personalities actually mesh well on the phone can be really beneficial, and you don't waste your time if you and the other person have nothing in common and you're not having a good phone conversation.
Like, it seems old-fashioned, but the amount of information you get from a single call, more than like an entire day or so of texting.
Yeah.
And especially when your schedule is busy, it just doesn't seem to make sense.
If you went to different residencies, or would you move with her if she had to go somewhere else? So what do you think about that?
Law school is a little bit easier to transfer, and so I wouldn't mind just transferring wherever she gets in.
Yeah, I think we definitely plan to couples match. Obviously it's unlikely that we would go into the same specialty, but we'll look for similar programs, and we have a pretty common interest in kind of geography and patient population and kind of the resources that we want to have going into residency. And so we're keeping those in mind. We talk about it probably like every week or so, kind of what we're looking for, like what we noticed this week in school and what we want to try and emphasize in our future and stuff like that.
So I had one question for Felix and Kayla here. I was wondering if you guys study together. Like, do you plan your study time, or do you like to study alone? What do you do?
We kind of do a mix. So we have an office, and we both have our desks next to each other. So in that sense, we're pretty much studying in the same room all the time. But we are pretty independent as far as lectures and like making our study material and stuff.
Yeah, we like collaborate on some shared material, and then group studying kind of she sees subjects in a different way than I see them, and so she might have a different perspective. And she's definitely like better at anatomy, and maybe like, and sometimes I'm a little bit better at physiology, and so we kind of use that to go hand in hand.
My next question is for Lauren and Ezra here. I was wondering if you could tell us about your engagement story. What do you got for us?
Okay.
All
So Ezra definitely surprised me because he was dropping a lot of hints that he was going to ask me on a Saturday, like the Saturday that we were going on this trip. And so that's what I thought it was going to be, and I thought I was really smart and knew everything that was happening, and I liked that. I like knowing what's going on.
You're like, okay, I got this outfit, nails, hair, we're good.
Yes! Ezra said that we were going over to a family friend's house for dinner, which we do a lot, so I completely believed it. I thought we were going over there, and instead he went to Kaufman Gardens and he proposed, and I was definitely surprised because I was so confused. I'm like, are we going to those people's house for dinner? What are we doing?
What's the timeline here?
Yeah, but it was great. It was really exciting.
How'd you feel? Did you cry?
No, I didn't. It was weird. It actually didn't feel real at first. Like, it took, like, I don't know. It was, like, a weird feeling. But it was great. It was different. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't plan for this.
Like, that's a huge decision. I know you said yes, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
How'd you feel?
Yeah, I had it all set up. I had a couple friends there to take pictures, and on my phone, my friend sends me a picture, and she glances at it and sees that my friend is at Kaufman Gardens, where we're about to head, and she goes, "Oh no!"
I was like, you're proposing.
I was like,
Yo.
she's like, wait a minute, can we run home? Back?
And so,
Yeah.
yeah. So she wasn't too happy about that. I think it ended well. We walked through Kaufman Gardens. I had a scrapbook that our entire year together.
Yeah, that's
From
awesome.
our first date, when we said we love each other. We're big sentimental people, and so we saved wristbands, concert tickets.
So that's so cute.
Park maps and things like that, and just all that. So I took all that and I put it in a scrapbook, and on the last page it said, "Marry me."
I was wondering if there was any general advice, just overall graduate lifestyle.
Mine would be to not make school your entire life and to have a life outside of school, and that could be whatever works for you. It could be taking time for self-care, it could be spending time with family or in a relationship, but school and all of that will always be there, but you also have to enjoy your life while you're still in school and still getting the point that you want to be at.
You need to kind of find that balance and stick with it.
Yeah, I think kind of the ultimate goal for STEM students should be, to be a lifelong learner. And so when you're 15 or 16, you think you know a lot, and then when you're 18 or 19, you know a lot. I think I know a lot. I'm 23, and I probably know nothing. So just learning from, like they said, school will always be there, and that's something you can always learn from. But the things that make your undergrad and your high school experience exceptional are your outside of school experiences. And so growing as a person and exposing yourself to a lot of different people, a lot of different environments, and taking advantage of opportunities as they come up is really what's going to provide you with those learning opportunities.
That's great advice. Thank you guys. Like I said, I really appreciate you taking some time out and coming and give us advice and your tips and experiences to different students. So thank you for giving me time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In the next episode of STEMology, a brilliant scholar and a dear friend of mine, Joseph Allen, has devoted some time to share his thoughts and experiences as a lifelong learner, and we discuss a few of our favorite study techniques and what works best for us in and outside of the classroom. Joseph is a student at UMKC who's dedicated to his research and multiple different leadership positions on campus. So I'm very grateful and frankly quite excited to have him on the podcast for next week's episode. Share and subscribe to listen to this episode and plenty more like it. If there were any additional questions you have or need to be answered, go ahead and send me a quick message at STEMologyYSSG@gmail.com. You can also reach out to me on our Facebook page, Instagram at the STEMology Podcast, or Twitter at STEMologyYSSG. And of course, like always, thank you for listening to our 16th episode of STEMology, a Young Scientist Survival Guide. Tune in with me, Alina Adams, for episode 17, Studying. See you next time.